Hi there, everyone. Welcome into episode 3 of Sit If You're Able. I'm your host, Max Abel, and joining me today is a good friend of mine, Bryce Hutchins. Bryce, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
It's good to be here.
Good to see you. So, Bryce is senior here at Bellarmine. We're actually in the week of welcome class together. So, do you know how many people are from that class are still in school here?
Maybe about half, maybe about 10 or 12.
We're one of the few survivors there, so that's fun. Started off here, freshman year, baseball manager. Now been with the basketball team the last few years. So as kind of a baseball manager, I don't do a whole lot with a baseball team anymore now that I'm interning and kind of an adult, but a manager myself back in the day. For you, having experienced basketball and baseball managing, what's kind of the biggest difference you think between those two jobs?
That's a good question. I think, speaking in generalities, there's not too big of a difference between the two. I mean, as a manager, you still have similar principles, whatever the sport is. Like, you're just doing whatever is needed of you to help the program. But obviously, there's some sport-specific differences, but in baseball during a game, I would chart certain things that the coaches wanted for baseball information, and basketball, I chart basketball things. It's really pretty similar, honestly.
Very cool. Yeah, know that one of the coolest things that basketball managers get to do, bring out the chairs. I'm a big fan. I'm a big believer that that's a way to set the tone. If you can get your guys seated before the other team, I think that's a big advantage. So, how many chairs do you bring out during a timeout?
I only bring out one. I bring out Coach Davenport's chair.
Okay.
And I bring his
whiteboard
with it.
Okay.
So, but I used to bring out 2 and even sometimes 3.
Okay.
So.
But senior now, you got younger managers, you have them do that.
Right, we pawn that off.
The grunt work. Okay, so speaking of the whiteboard, I'm assuming this was drawn up, this play the other day down in Kennesaw was drawn up on the whiteboard. We'll pull it up here. So the buzzer beater 3, you've seen the play. I want to show you this. We'll pull it up on the make it go full screen in post-production here. But I'm a big fan of the poise that we show here. You there on the bench, like right there. Immediately when the shot goes in, we're making sure everyone stays. That's making sure nobody runs out on the floor. No technical fouls called to lose a game, in a cheap way. I think that was, me. I was watching. I was fired up. You were still locked in on the game. I just have to compliment the poise there.
I appreciate that. You never know in an exciting moment like that if there's any time left on the clock, and you got to keep the guys off the floor.
Yeah. So that was a pretty cool moment, and I think another pretty cool moment was last year with the manager games, getting to go to the Final Four. So just kind of explain what are the manager games and what was it like going to the Final Four last year?
Yeah, the manager games, they started maybe 10, 12 years ago, something like that. There's some guys at Michigan State, they were basketball managers, and they were friends with one of the assistant ADs there. And basically they just had this idea like, hey, we like playing pickup basketball, and the other team typically when they come to play us, they come in the night before and vice versa. We go in the day before, we play another team. And so why don't we meet up with the managers the night before and have a little pickup game, and maybe we can create a league and some kind of ranking system. So they came up with the KPI, which actually I think college baseball is going to use the KPI as criteria this year for the tournament. It's like I'm going to butcher the name, but it's the Kevin Pauda index or something like that. That was the assistant AD at Michigan State, and so that is the formula they use to rank the teams, and it's grown into a little bit bigger of a thing, and they use Twitter voting after they use the KPI to make a field of 64 for the tournament, and the last 8 teams standing are lucky enough to go to the location of the Final Four for men's college basketball that year, and you play out the Elite 8 the rest of the way. And we got to go last year, and it was a really fun experience. I never thought that we'd get to do that. So
yeah, that was it Houston?
Houston.
Yeah, I mean that was pretty cool just to watch on social media. Not obviously I didn't go, but just getting to watch kind of updates from Houston, and I think I saw Jay Billis was at. I don't know if he was at the games or not that you guys played, but I know that he's a big fan of the manager games and supporting managers and stuff. So that was cool to watch. I think everyone knows I'm going to bring this up, but I have to. Another cool moment, winning the ASUN, back when that was sophomore year. So obviously that was a cool moment, but like, how to phrase this without being unnecessarily harsh. It feels like basketball is one of the only programs, and obviously this year's been a struggle, but I think that's almost entirely due to injuries. Maybe not entirely, but mostly due to injuries. But basketball feels like it's one of our only programs that's kind of made the transition and been competitive for the most part in Division I. Why do you think that's just, I don't think that's a basketball specific thing. Like, what do you, like specific to the sport? Because I know that there's a big difference between a Division I and a Division II, but like why do you think that is? Why do you think you guys have made that transition?
Well, I just attribute it, and I know this is super generic, and it sounds really like I'm not a coach, but it sounds like coach speak. But I think that the culture of our program, like they, and this, you know, in more ways than just this, the culture, but they really, I think, went into Division I believing that they could compete, and not only believing that they could compete, but expecting to. And I think that, I mean, that's the first step, you know, is believing that you can do something and that you're going to do something. So I think that was part of it, but also just the coaching staff runs a really good program over there, and obviously they do, you know, a good job in it. Their X's and O's and schematically is kind of unique, but more than that, you know, all the coaches in Division I, they run good stuff. You know, they know basketball, but they do a really good job. Like I said, with the culture of the program, getting the guys to buy in and just playing hard, playing together, being the most excited team to play. So they just run a really good program.
The program. That's good stuff. So want to transition now. So we are filming this February the 8th. So pitchers and catchers are reporting. It's different for every team, but they're reporting I think everybody will be reported within a week. You're Yankees guy. So just on the spot, is Judge Soto the best duo of hitters in baseball right now?
I believe it is. I'll say it is. Not only do you have two of, you know, I saw something on Twitter the other day. Mm-hmm. I don't have the numbers with me, but there were multiple different studies, like 2 or 3 different studies using different statistics, and all 3 of them had Judge and Soto as top 4 hitters in the league. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch. Freeman Betts is pretty good in LA, I guess. Ohtani even. You can make a lot of different combinations. I know your Braves have a couple good combinations too, but I'll ride with my guys Soto and Judge.
I'll agree with that. I think as far as overall value, you might find a more valuable duo maybe in LA with Betts and Ohtani, but I think just as far as pure hitters, that's going to be fun to watch. So speaking of the Yankees, gotta throw this in as well. One of their more important front office members, George Costanza. I hear he was a big part of bringing that trade together to bring in Soto. Big Seinfeld guy. I'm a Seinfeld guy, not as big as he is, but just right on the spot. What's the best Seinfeld episode and why?
If I have to choose my favorite Seinfeld episode, it's really tough. It's challenging. I'd probably go with the marine biologist. I think it's in season 5. Why? I think that George Costanza is probably my favorite character.
Amen.
And that's a great Costanza episode. It really encapsulates his character. It's hard to explain, but you should check it out.
We'll give it a shot tonight. As I put this together, I got nothing else to do the rest of the weekend, so we'll put that on the old. They're still on Netflix, aren't they?
Oh yeah, still on Netflix.
We'll fire that up here later tonight. All right, that's about all I had for you. Appreciate the time, and you all make sure to tune in next week. We'll have a new guest. We'll have a new show. This has been Sit If You're Able.